welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at GodsFiveMinutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. Jeremiah 17:1 reads, "The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with a point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of their altars." This verse is part of the solemn appeal made by the man who has been called the weeping prophet to his wayward nation. It's hard to imagine how he could have used stronger language. Our ink pens are typically made of plastic. But God was emphasizing to this people that the force of their transgression was so terrific, it had been written with the instruments needed for carving epitaphs into granite tombstones, a pen of iron, a point of diamond, which at that time was the hardest substance known. But these wrongdoings were not recorded on the rigid base of a stone statue. They were written into people's hearts, and how deeply must they have been etched for the Lord to speak of them so. It is like a tattoo artist doing his work with a sledgehammer. All wrongdoing leaves scars on the character. It does so in many ways, by making repetition easier. Peter found denying the Lord easier each time he did it. Forming the habits of sinful behavior strengthens the inclinations to do it. Committing sin also drags along with it a desire to do other evils. All wrong things have so much in common. Whatever weakens the resistance of one kind of wrong also weakens it to others. The horns of the altar were used to bind the sacrifice there. When people give in to the temptation to do wrong until defilement is inscribed into their hearts like cattle branded with a hot iron, their ability to offer sacrifice to the Lord is also affected. It becomes much easier to find excuses for half-fulfilled promises and even no commitment at all. When that happens, one's religion becomes mostly lip service. So what are we to do? What hope is there for someone who has fallen into the devil's traps and has his or her life scarred and marred with a long, hideous list of sins? Thank God there is an answer. Colossians 2:4, blotting out the handwriting that was against us, which verse is primarily a reference to the rules in the Old Testament law, but also by inference can apply to the guilt derived from failing to heed them. And 2 Corinthians 3:2, "Ye are our apostle, written in our hearts, known and read of all men, for as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in fleshy tables of the heart." When a person has a heart so hardened by sin and its consequences it has become like a stone and can only be written upon by the hardest implements, Jesus' answer is for that person to be born again. Ezekiel got a vision of it. "A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and will give you an heart of flesh." This answer, this beautiful, fulfilling, powerful salvation from the Lord, amounts to actually beginning life anew. The old life is to be buried in the water grave of baptism, while the penitent soul starts over, approaching the same circumstances as before, but with an entirely new and holy purpose and outlook. This new man has a natural longing to forgive past offenses instead of drinking the gall of bitterness. He will remember how he has mistreated others and will want to do everything possible, ask forgiveness, and correct the past. He will be, as is his Lord, easily touched with the feelings of others' infirmities. And he will find, as he daily drinks at the fountain of God's grace, a river of peace flowing through his soul that gladdens the dullest moments, sweetens every part of his life with innocence, purity, holy joy. It isn't hard to serve the Lord. His burden is easy, and his yoke is light. Try as we will to explain it, there's simply no language strong or beautiful enough to actually express the full joy and satisfaction of a life lived in peaceful contact with the Lord. The best advice we Christians can possibly give to one looking for something better in new life is, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good."
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at GodsFiveMinutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.